Okay, so here I'm going to look at what I consider to be the most important moment in all of Death Note, and it's not what you might think, like L dying or some major event like that. It's actually something very simple, where it's just simply Light identifying that someone had been in his room, right, and identifying the surveillance must be there, or predicting that. And so it's something simple that's a game theory moment of brilliance that it sets up for an explanation of, you might say, oh, but what if L tried to do this, right? Why can't you just catch Light like blank? Insert idea here, like, why couldn't you just surprise him this way or go through his window instead? He would have had a plan for that too. Or why couldn't you just... People would come up with all those theories, right, in the story. Oh, if I was Al, I would have just done this plan or that plan or the other plan. But this shows you, like, if he's this careful about something as simple and small as this, just somebody entering his room at a point where he's not even under that major suspicion yet, right? Like, it's still early on. Right, he's just a minor suspect, but he's being this careful, right? He does a layered plan. He puts the paper in his door to fake everybody out, and then he also has the pencil lead on the hinge. So, like, he's going to such lengths just to see if somebody's been in his room when he's barely even a suspect yet early on in the series. So that shows you that no matter what you might try on him, he's going to have some sort of plan for it. So even without showing us, every scenario and every other plan that L might come up with, or, all these different theories the fans might have, like why you couldn't catch him by doing one thing or another, right? It shows you, oh, none of that would work because it qualifies his intelligence very well within a game theory sense. Like, if he's that well prepared for something as simple as that, right, some minor little thing, and he can predict something as subtle as this, right, you would have no idea this is really going on. It shows you it not only qualifies his intelligence, but it sets up that answer. Like, for the whole rest of the series, right, at this moment, I would believe, like, you know what, it makes sense that he wouldn't get caught by anything simple or anything direct or anything, at all. Like, this explains, like, why couldn't you do this, that, or the other thing to try to catch him? This explains it, because if he's this careful in this scenario, right, he goes to such length, such a layered plan. Oh, why couldn't L have entered through the window and installed the cameras that way? But he would have had it so the draft comes in exactly a certain way, and he would have noticed that too, and he would have seen that. Like, so no matter what you do, he would have had a plan for it. Which also makes the ending of the series so stupid, because he's this prepared for the door, but he wasn't more prepared for the ending, like where he loses and he doesn't have Mikami test a notebook or something like that. So it's kind of dumb, but this is a very, very valuable moment because it's a game theory qualifier to say, why couldn't you just do something, right, to beat him? This shows you, again, this is the layers that he'll go to in such a simple way, for such a simple thing, just to see if someone's been in his room or not, even to the point of knowing whether his mother was there. Like, oh, they wouldn't have put the piece of paper back in. Like, it's such a layered plan for something so simple that establishes and qualifies his intelligence beautifully within a game theory sense. So he can't be beaten conventionally at all. So basically, it just answers all those questions, right? Because, again, you can't really address all those theories of, like, well, what if you did this, what if you did that? Because the series is only going to show certain techniques being used, right, by L. But what it does do is it sets up for, like, oh, if you had done something, right, any other plan, right, at any other time, oh, he would have had some response for it. He would have had some layer for it. He would have always. So again, that's why at the end of the series, yes, he had a backup plan and he had it all planned out, but he would have had something more. He would have had another page hidden somewhere else. He would have had, a fake notebook made with pages from the real notebook, or he would have had, if I can even think of these things, he would have had Mikami test a notebook on the way there, but he wouldn't have had him test it to kill somebody because that would have been too obvious to Nier, but he would have done it so he would have controlled somebody's actions, like on the news, to do something weird that they wouldn't normally do. That wouldn't be obvious because they would die at some later date. So it'll control their actions for then, and then they'll die later after the meeting so that it wouldn't be obvious to anybody but Mikami, because he would make them do something weird, like scratch their nose 3 times or, something that even Nier wouldn't pick up on. So he would have done something like that because that's how his intelligence is being qualified here, right? That, like, or even something more basic. Think about it this way. Mikami opens the safe deposit box and somehow, obviously, Giovanni gets in there and makes a copy of the book and whatever. Wouldn't Light have had Mikami have a setup to see if somebody's been in that safe deposit box when he set up that plan much earlier on, like ahead of the game? So it's not like he was under as much surveillance at that point. He was communicating through Takuto with Mikami, right, or even directly. So he would have had a way, similar to this pencil lead thing, just use the pencil lead trick on the safe deposit box. So even if they had been in there and took the real notebook, unfortunately, you would have at least known it. Right, that's the difference. It's not that Light would have won. Okay, Nier has the real notebook because Mikami revealed it like a clown. That's fine. And so you effectively still lose. He might not have another page or another notebook, but you wouldn't get caught out for it the way you did because you would have had the similar plan. The same pencil ed sort of tactic would have been, Mikami would have known that the safe deposit box had been open. So this moment actually answers the end of the series, how Light couldn't have possibly lost. He would have told Mikami the same thing or something similar just to see if the safe deposit box had been open. Right, when he goes to open it himself, he would know, it was at this angle or this something. Somehow he put the notebook at this exact angle, or this piece of dust was on it, or this piece of hair, right? Just somehow, some way. And you also might think, he couldn't have tested it because it would have been too obvious, like, that they're watching him, but they couldn't have been watching him because the assumption is if they're watching him, they would see him go into the safe deposit box and get the notebook. So they can't be, they're assuming that he's not being watched at that moment. So you're telling me as he takes it out, he can't just scribble a name in there really quickly with nobody watching? Because if they were watching, they would see that, look, he's getting the real notebook from the safety deposit box, right? So the assumption is he's not being watched for a minute there. And so by that logic, he would have free reign to do whatever he wants, such as write a name, control their actions, test it. But yeah, this is a very important game theory qualifying moment.